In 1802, the Obra Dinn departed from England to Asia with 60 people on board. The ship, however, failed to meet her rendezvous at the Cape of Good Hope and was declared missing in 1803. Several years later, the ship reappears off the coast of England, with every person dead or missing. This is where the game begins. You play as the chief inspector of the East India Company, dispatched to investigate the ghost ship. You receive a mysterious box from Henry Evans, the ship's surgeon. Inside is an empty copy of the Obra Dinn's logbook and a pocket watch called the Memento Mortem. This pocket watch will prove vital to your investigation, as it allows you to see and hear the moment of someone's death. With these items in hand, you begin to unravel the fate of the Obra Dinn. Where is the missing crew? Are there other survivors besides Dr. Evans? Why is the ship heavily damaged? And what happened to the Obra Dinn? The Obra Dinn is a merchant ship, a vessel under the East India Company that transports cargo and passengers. For this particular voyage, the Obra Dinn carries 51 crewmen, led by Captain Robert Witterell, and 9 passengers, an artist, a musician, the captain's wife, an Englishwoman and her companion, and 2 members of Formosan royalty with their 2 guards, who are transporting an ornate chest. A voyage from England to the Orient is expected to take 3 to 4 months, and so the crew begins to load the boat with supplies in preparation for the journey. However, misfortune strikes before the Obra Dinn has even left port.
Wait! No!
A cargo rope snaps, crushing Samuel Peters and an unnamed stowaway. Accidents happen, and the crew continues with their work. The ship sets sail, and everyone celebrates the start of what should be a routine voyage. A few days later, 2 Indian seamen begin to cough violently in the middle of the night.
Well?
Same as the other fellow. Some lung disease, not consumption. Made worse by the cold.
Will it spread?
If so, we'd all have it. They must have picked it up at the Alaska house. I checked all hands just now, and everyone is healthy.
And him? What are his chances?
I gave him some laudanum. We'll see.
The 2 men end up dying from a lung disease, made fatal by the cold temperatures. Sailors are often cold and wet, and injuries from shipboard accidents are common. They are forced to share cramped spaces with rats and insects, and live on poor diets for months or years at a time. So, long life cannot be expected for those working on the Obra Dinn. But these unusually early tragedies are a sign of worse things to come. As the ship draws closer to the Canary Islands, something catches the eye of Edward Nichols, the second mate, and he begins to wonder, what's inside the chest? If the Formosan guards are that vigilant, then it must be something valuable. If he overpowers them, then perhaps there's a way to take it for himself. The 2 royals should also be worth a hefty ransom. The Canary Islands are only a few days away by lifeboat, and could make the perfect getaway. So, the second mate hatches a plot, together with the steward, Samuel, the 2 Russian seamen, Alexei and Alarcus, the Irish seaman, Patrick, and the Chinese topman, Li Han. Edward knocks out one of the guards in the dead of night and opens the Formosan chest in an attempt to steal it. He finds a strange shell inside, but Nunzio Pasqua, the musician, hears the noise and descends to the cargo hold to investigate.
Hello? Who is there? Who is that? Is someone hurt? Signore Nichols, is that you? What are you doing down here?
Hello, yes. All fine here. Just sorting some things.
Watch your step. Here, let me help you.
Edward panics. He didn't expect Nunzio to catch him in the act. This much commotion is going to attract even more people, and the plan will have to be postponed. But what was he going to do about the dead body? Edward only has a few seconds to think. He decides to frame the guard. Since the Formosans do not speak English, Li Hong conveniently offers to translate for them.
Hok Seng Lao, you have been found guilty by self-confession of the murder of Nunzio Pasquale.
Quiet.
As captain of this ship, and by the authority of the East India Company, and thus the Crown of England, I sentence you to death by firing line. Mr. Wolf, when you are ready.
Right, sir. Ready, men. Aim. Fire!
The guard apparently confesses to the crime, and the captain is forced to execute him by firing squad. For Edward, this setback is a blessing in disguise. There's one less guard to worry about, and so the group decides to make a bolder move. When Edward opened that chest, he might have expected to see gold, jewelry, or a royal heirloom. Instead, he saw a shell, which seemed rather worthless to him. Better to bring the Formosans along as insurance. They injured 3 of the crewmen, smuggle the chest onto a lifeboat, and kidnap Miss Lim and Sia, the Formosan royals. They shoot one of the top men off the side of the ship in the process. A portion of his corpse continues to dangle off the starboard side for the rest of the voyage. After successfully escaping with the treasure and the royals, the men begin to row, hoping to reach the Canary Islands before the Obra Dinn could catch up. Meanwhile, Li Hong overhears a desperate conversation between the Formosans. He manages to catch 2 important pieces of information over the sound of the waves. The chest must not fall into the ocean. And there's something below them.
Shut it up!
This is strange news about monsters.
Li Hong tells the men that the Formosans are talking about monsters. Before he can properly warn them, an arm reaches out of the water and impales Li Hong. Patrick is speared through the throat, and Alarcus is grabbed and drowned. Edward, not knowing what to do, curls up in fear. Sia takes advantage of the confusion and uses the monster's spear to cut his bindings. He knifes Samuel to reach the chest. Sia grabs the shell and thrusts it into a quicksilver-like liquid inside the chest, which has the equivalent effect of throwing 40 flashbangs. The magic melts his arm, burning him to death. He calls out to Miss Lim in his final moments. However, she is already dead, her neck and face torn open. The only survivor is Edward Nichols, the second mate. He pulls the monsters into the boats and finds that they are actually mermaids. 2 of the 3 are carrying shells, identical to the one thrust inside the chest. With most of the conspirators dead, the Obra Dinn quickly catches up.
Ahoy!
Hell back! Get the captain!
Ahoy!
Recover the boat!
Wait! Don't shoot! I have treasure! I yield!
Hold your fire!
The final Formosan shoots Edward, perhaps out of revenge, or to prevent him from bringing the mermaids on board. A crewmate restrains the Formosan and tries to question him for his actions. However, a mermaid regains consciousness and fatally spikes both of them, before killing 2 additional men. Philip Dahl, the captain's steward, realizes that the mermaids must not be brought onto the ship. He grabs a sword and desperately tries to throw the mermaids overboard, severing a man's leg in the process. The captain ignores Philip and has him chained up in the lazarette, together with the mermaids and the chest. At this point, the ship has begun to turn back towards England due to the deaths of several crew members and the Formosan passengers. 1 shell is still within the chest, and 2 more are being held by the mermaids. Since only 2 of the 3 mermaids were carrying a shell, they likely attacked the lifeboats to obtain the shell in the chest. The royals were not transporting treasure. They were trying to protect a dangerous beacon. However, everyone who knows this is now dead, and no one could have foreseen what was coming next. A thunderstorm begins to pummel the ship. As the crew are securing the rigging, two monsters climb aboard. They appear to be humanoid soldiers, covered from head to toe in seaweed and carrying barbed spears. The soldiers ride on giant spider crabs covered in deadly spikes. The men rush below deck to grab swords and guns. The monsters follow after them, intending to make their way to the lazarette. Most of the crew aren't aware of the monsters yet. Marcus, the carpenter's mate, throws an axe at one of the beasts. It retaliates by shooting the spikes from its mount, killing Marcus and pinning his body to the wall. It continues to descend and enters the orlop deck. The first beast decapitates two more crew members. Several men distract the spider crab with swords, while midshipman Charles sets it on fire with a lantern. He climbs on top of it, restraining the monster as they both burn to death. Henry Evans tries to save a man who has been spiked to the wall, but the man dies of blood loss before Dr. Evans can successfully pull him off. The second beast descends from the gun deck and stabs Winston the carpenter in the torso. He shoots it in the face with his shotgun, killing the second beast. The crew breathes a sign of relief, and everyone goes to sleep, exhausted. Several men, fearing whatever curse is on the ship, make an attempt to escape in the middle of the night. What they don't realize is that their lifeboat will never make it off the Obra Dinn. The mermaids are still alive in the lazarette, and the danger is not over. A tentacle reaches out of the depths and crushes the artist as he's taking a dump. The mermaids have summoned a Kraken to rescue them. The crew scrambles out of their hammocks, and the gunner, Christian Wolf, directs them to load and fire the cannons. The Kraken grabs one of the lit cannons, crushing a seaman in the process. Wolf is caught by the same tentacle and is forcefully latched onto the barrel of the cannon. Someone tries to save him, but both are caught in the cannon blast. The ship begins to heel over as the Kraken assaults the hull. A cannon comes loose and crushes a man. The storm has intensified. The crew brings swords and guns above deck. Peter Milroy, a midshipman, is transporting gunpowder before being grabbed by the Kraken. The pouch he's carrying explodes before his friend is able to save him. The fighting continues. Maba, a top man, stabs a tentacle. In response, the Kraken grabs him by the legs and rips him apart. The men who try to escape during the night are tossed into the churning ocean. During all of this, the captain is nowhere to be seen. Abigail, the captain's wife, leaves her passenger cabin in search of her husband. The Kraken crushes her with falling rigging. Alfred Kleistel, the bosun, has his arm ripped off while his mate tries to save him. The ship has been badly damaged. Most crew members have either been killed or swallowed by the sea. Suddenly, the Kraken leaves, along with the storm. Why? Before Alfred dies, he says,
How did you kill it?
We didn't. It left with the storm. Captain came up from the hold. Said he chased it off. You should rest.
A curse like that does not live for nothing.
The waves calm down and any immediate danger appears to be gone. The remaining survivors start to panic. Will the monsters come back? Can they ever make it back to England? They've plenty of supplies, but the handful of people that remain cannot run the Obra Dinn. So, two passengers along with Henry Evans and two other men decide to abandon ship and board the last remaining lifeboat. Leonid Volkov tries to stop them. A passenger shoots Leonid through the chest. The four members cut the lifeboat loose and are the only ones who manage to successfully escape. As this is happening, Olaus Viatar, the gunner's mate, and John Davies, the fourth mate, discuss mutiny after listening to Alfred's dying words. A steward is eavesdropping behind a wall and tries to warn the captain.
Enough. Captain cannot be trusted.
You have a plan?
Yes. Take ship and sail east. Trade wretched fish and shells for gold. Hey, who's there?
Mutiny! Mutiny!
Fresh bastard!
No!
Olaus stabs him in the back. The steward bleeds out, regretfully mentioning that he had tried his best to save Peter. John tries to stop Olaus and blows the top of his head off with a flintlock in the resulting struggle. Henry Brennan, misunderstanding the situation, clubs John. The death of the majority of his crew, the death of his wife, and the passenger's departure pushes Captain Robert Witterell past his breaking point. He locks himself in his quarters. Robert might have answers for what just happened, and he is the only one left who can reassure the survivors. But he is no longer capable of running the ship. Fear overcomes the three remaining crew members on the Obra Dinn. The first mate, William Hoscott, Henry Brennan, the seaman, and Lewis Walker, the top man. The ship could still be cursed, and the storm might come back at any time. The shells must be thrown overboard. Robert Witterell is responsible for the ship, and his actions led to these consequences. The three men decide to mutiny and attack the captain in his quarters.
Captain! Open the door! Kick it in. Ah! Lest we break it down and take more than those shells!
You bastards may take exactly what I give you!
The captain kills all of them. Then, he sits down and reloads his flintlock.
Abigail, your brother, my friend, I shot him dead. I'll be with you soon, my love. Please forgive me for everything.
And so, with no one left on board, the Obra Dinn slowly drifts with the currents until it reaches the shores of England. But this isn't the end of the story. What drove the Kraken off? What happened to the mermaids? The remaining answers are in the lazarette. Let's go back in time to before the Kraken attack. Philip Dahl is chained up in a lazarette. Next to him are the three mermaids, trapped in separate lockers filled with seawater. He breaks free of his chains and opens the Formosan chest.
What's this? Quicksilver.
Philip reaches in and retrieves the shell that Sia thrusted inside, burning his arm off in the process. When the Kraken begins attacking the ship, the captain realizes his mistake in not listening to Philip. The mermaids caused all of this.
I'll kill every last one of you monsters! Withdraw the Kraken, or I will kill you all!
Robert begins to threaten the mermaids, telling them to call off the Kraken. He shoots the first and stabs the second. The Kraken withdraws after he throws the two mermaid shells overboard. Martin Parrott, the third mate, goes down to the lazarette to investigate with two stewards. He discovers that the captain missed a shell, the one held by Philip's corpse. Martin decides to free the last mermaid, to finally free the Obra Dinn from this curse. He opens the last enclosure in the lazarette. Martin gets spiked in the chest. Before he dies, he gives it the final shell and tells the stewards to throw it back into the ocean. In return, he asks the mermaid for a favor.
The ship. The Obra Dinn.
See it home.
All the mermaids wanted was to take the shells back. The last mermaid could have summoned more demons from the sea to achieve its goal. So, the third mate sacrificed himself to guarantee the safety of the ship. Sadly, no one told the survivors about Martin's heroic actions. With this information, perhaps the final few crew members would have never attacked the captain, and they could have made it back to England, safe and sound. You conclude your investigation and head back to port, just as a sudden storm sinks the already damaged Obra Dinn. There are still some loose ends. Why did Henry Evans give you the pocket watch? Where did he get it from? And what else could be lurking beneath the sea? But those are questions for another time. You submit your investigational report to the East India Company and enjoy a cup of tea after a job well done.